So we have Gaganyaan, we have Aditya, we have possibly follow-up of the Mangalyaan, and then finally space station. But what is heartening is now that you would have realized during Prime Minister Modi's DC visit, Washington DC visit, all the agreements were technology heavy.
Yeah.
And one of them was Americans soliciting Indian astronauts to accompany them to the International Space Station, which has about 25 countries, being a part of it. So now those who started the journey much earlier than us, particularly the USA and the then Soviet Union, are now actually looking up to us not as equal partners, but also looking up to us for vital cues, particularly after the Chandrayaan success, the Chandrayaan-1 getting the evidence of water molecules. And there's much of expectation from Chandrayaan-3.
Yeah.
Because the inputs obtained will be virgin even for the other nations.
Sure.
Because they wouldn't have had this experience.
I'll talk about that in just a moment, but when do we expect an Indian astronaut on board the International Space Station? Do we have a rough idea when?
I think it will be in near future, because that's what has been...
next couple of months, or
it could be so. It could be so. The dates have not been fixed, but the US offer is of a nature, very
Sure.
inviting nature. They wish us to be there.
You said something interesting. You said that the robot would be called Vyomitra. So does that mean that our astronauts will be called Vyomnauts?
Let's wait and see. But we have a huge women participation in our space missions. I must confess that. And they're all first generation women. It's not by there you can't have the dynasty.
No.
Because it's purely merit. And hats off to them. Most of our missions, including the Gagan mission, has a huge women scientist presence.
There's another wonderful aspect of ISRO, where ISRO's leaders are deeply spiritual people, and they're scientists of the highest order. And it is seamless for them, science and spirituality, and that sort of, the spirituality gives them motivation at one level, and the science is what guides them in their minds. And that's a culture, I think, of ISRO.
No, absolutely. Again, I think I can't help giving credit to Prime Minister Modi. Till a few years ago, Sriharikota was banned for outsiders, by and large. So I always used to wonder why it's so. So when it was put across Prime Minister, he was so supportive. And now we are also conducting tours of students, college and school boys, girls, to actually have a feel of what it's all about. Because you would realize, as I agree with you, Vishnu, the entire work culture is slightly different. I think it's a kind of role model for the rest to follow. That they never superannuate.
Right.
So they give all their life to the mission. So you would see, even in any of the missions, you see all these retired scientists also there, all the retired chairmen also there. They get involved in the mission right from the beginning. They continue to contribute. They might have superannuated officially, but they continue to remain a part of the team in formal or informal capacity. So that is a very healthy culture. They have dedicated their life to the mission. Their caliber is of the highest order. I've always been saying that we have cost-effective missions because we make up for the cost through our human cerebral, resources. We had someone like Sarabhai who could carry the launcher on the carriage of his bicycle, and still hope of reaching where Soviet Union and USA were already hoping to reach. So that way, and secondly, after every launch, they pay an obeisance at Tirupati, as you rightly said, and immediately after the launch, how the celebration is by distributing a laddu, the Tirupati laddu, to each one of them. So I think it's the ideal blend of India's traditional heritage and the most updated modern Indian technology, for which our scientists are known. In fact, our space scientists have been acknowledged as among the best in the world, and that is evident from the fact that our graduates and postgraduates from our Trivandrum Institute are actually spread all over the world. Even the NASA is being manned by them.
In fact, that was my next question. A lot of the engineers at ISRO are from regional engineering colleges. They are not necessarily from the most advanced colleges in the world. And so it is a celebration of what an Indian education and engineering and science can actually achieve.
Absolutely. As I said, because I have been a part of the fraternity all my life, scientific, I think I personally feel our Trivandrum Institute is among the best in the world. And I think the best evidence of that is that they have 100% placement, and most of them are absorbed in premier institutes of the world like NASA. So with the space having got unlocked in the last 4-5 years and new avenues having opened up, I think that will be the other implication of it, that brain drain happening would also stop, because we have a lot of avenues now, both in space economy, in space entrepreneurship, in space startups.
Frugal engineering has been at the heart of what ISRO does. But what if I was to ask you this, that frugal engineering has gotten us where we have, but in the future, if we are to have a space station, if we are to have a deep space mission, we need to be able to fund ISRO. And that means potentially billions of dollars or equivalent. Are we willing to spend?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to explain that in 2 or 3 parts. A, that after this quantum jump, as you rightly mentioned, in the last 3-4 years, there has been increase in the pace of the economy generation. Even we are rendering our facility to the foreign satellites. We have launched more than 380 foreign satellites so far. We have earned more than about 250 million euros. And from America, we have earned more than $170 million or so. So that's one part of it, simply by lending out our launching site. Overall, the India's space economy today stands about 8 billion, which is just about 2% of the global percentage. But the entire world is recognizing the increased pace, and that's why the conservative projections are that 80 billion by 2040. But the other day, I think about 2-3 days back, we had that ALD report, other little report, which mentions that we could have the potential of 100 billion by 2040, which is going to be a huge, gigantic jump. And that's what the world is now expecting, because we have started moving very fast. Our launchings are also very frequent. And in addition to that, the funding is also happening because it's been opened up to the private participation. And third, the most recent decision, which is again a very historic decision, it didn't get so much of publicity because the other news came in, was the National Research Foundation, the Anusandhan, which is going to follow the same parameters as is followed in the rest of the world, because let's not forget that if we have to play a global role, our parameters have to be global, our challenges have to be global, our strategies have to be global. So we had a National Research Society in America, we had one in Germany, we had some country. I don't know why, again, we had to wait for Prime Minister Modi. So many things have happened after Prime Minister Modi came in, and particularly in the area of science and technology. So we have this National Research Foundation called Anusandhan, which was passed in the last session of Parliament. It will be heavily tilted towards non-government sources, in the sense that, for example, if we have a 50,000 crore budget for 5 years, as much as about 36,000 will be contributed from non-government sources. It could be from philanthropy, it could be from private sector, it could be from CSR, it could be from domestically, it could be from foreign investors, as is happening in the other countries. Sure. Because that's how the NASA has grown. Because they was not purely dependent on the government sources. Even today, much of the funding happens from the other source. So I think that's going to be a huge turnover.
So you're going to scale up your
absolutely, and I think once we get going, the National Research Foundation that we have envisaged in the form of Anusandhan is going to be a more outcome-oriented and a better version of the National Research Society of America.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about America, in the sense that when the Prime Minister was there, he signed the landmark Artemis Accords. Now, I think this is also something that's worth discussing, the fact that India is interested in space in terms of peaceful collaboration, non-militarization of space, and peaceful exploration, collaboration and exploration. And so therefore, you've defined the vision of ISRO going forward. We are not in competition with China. We are in competition with ourselves for our technology, and we want to work with other nations.
No, absolutely. I think this is very much in keeping with the ethos that India has been following. In fact, our space program and our nuclear energy program began almost around the same time. And right from the beginning, the founding fathers, the two programs had made it very clear that this is going to be the peaceful purposes. Though sometimes I wonder, when Homi Bhabha said this in the context of atomic energy, how much he would have been trusted, because Hiroshima and Nagasaki had happened just over 7-8 years earlier, when the first atomic energy program was launched by Homi Bhabha. But he had the confidence to say that this is going to be for peaceful purposes, regardless of whether the world trusted him. But now we have actually vindicated ourselves. Both, even in our nuclear energy is being used for other purposes, for medical treatments, for managing the shelf lives, etc., of vegetable, fruit, etc. And similarly, our space technology is also being used for. I think that is one distinguished feature of in the context of India, unlike many other countries. We are not only confining ourselves to the launching of rockets, though that sounds very fantastic, and the imagery is very romantic, and it conjures up our imagination, and enthuses the entire nation and the common citizen. But more than that, in fact, and that also happened after I think it was in 2016, it was at the behest of Prime Minister Modi, a marathon workshop was arranged, where all these space scientists were made to sit with the representatives of different sectors. The result of which is, today we have space technology virtually in every Indian household and virtually in every Indian infrastructure. That it's also again for the peaceful development purposes. Whether it's roads and buildings, whether it's smart cities, whether it's laying down of the railway tracks, whether it's manning the unmanned railway tracks, it's telemedicine, it is digital. Our Swamitra program, that program for the mapping of the farms and lands, again purely dependent on space technology. So we have a new geospatial policy coupled with the drones. So the entire scenario has been given a different kind of outlook, and to bring ease of living in the life of a common man. So absolutely, not only we are professing that, we are also living up to that, because space technology has become a means of peaceful, fast-track development in this country.
Navigation is something which
absolutely. Disaster management. I remember what Prime Minister said in the morning, very beautifully he put it. Some people question the cost. The cost saved by avoiding the disasters is much more than the cost spent. It was 600 crore. And now we are also actually coming to the aid of the other countries. I think it was in 2015 or early 2016, we set up a satellite, which is popularly called SARC satellite, because it covers all the other countries, except Pakistan did not want to be a part of it. That is to their disadvantage. But all the other neighboring countries, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, they all are a part of that. So we are actually providing our satellite, providing them inputs about possible disaster events happening. So actually we are also now coming to the aid of the others. So absolutely, these are all peaceful activities, peaceful purpose activities.
Well, there you have it. And I think Minister Jitendra Singh, the best person to speak about the entire Indian space program. It's something that he personally deals with on a day-to-day basis. But what an inspiration ISRO is to all of us. And it's just so wonderful to talk about ISRO and celebrate India's moment in the moon. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.